What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some more, you guessed it, r/am I the butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below, but if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. As I always say, it helps out so much, and it really does. And just a huge thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here. It's incredible. Thank you so much, and let's just crack straight on with today's stories. Much love, guys. Now, our first story comes from a throwaway account, of course. Am I the arsehole for taking vacation and leaving my husband with every single house duty there is for 4 days? My husband and I have been together for 8 years, recently married 15 months ago. We have a 4-year-old son. For the past 3 years, I've worked from home. Such a godsend. 12-hour shifts 4 days a week. It's a struggle because my husband gets home from work at 1 AM and takes 2 to 3 hours to unwind, so he doesn't get to bed until maybe 3 or 4 AM and sleeps basically all day until he has to leave for work. On his days off, he spends that with me and our son, obviously, but I have noticed that as time goes on, he does less and less around the house. Before this, he would make dinner on his days off, take care of all son's needs and do basic cleaning so that I could have a breather. Now he doesn't make dinner at all, falls asleep on the couch by 7, so I have son duty 24/7 and he hasn't lifted a finger to clean in weeks. So on my 3 days off a week, I end up having to deep clean my entire house because I don't have time to do anything on my work days aside from the bare minimum. 2 weeks ago, I asked him for some help. He happily obliged for all of 30 minutes before taking off to go help a buddy with his car and didn't do jack squat after returning home because he was tired. I needed a break, I told him this. His way of comforting me was by hugging me and saying, "You're doing such a good job." Didn't offer help or anything. So I made a plan, asked my mum to take my son for 4 days and planned a vacation for myself with work. I dropped my son off yesterday with my mum. I only did this because my husband obviously works and took off to our cabin 58 miles away to relax. My husband started texting me last night asking where I was. I told him the cabin. He asked where our son was, so I told him. He then started going off about how this is selfish of me and that if he had realised I wasn't merely stressed out, that he would have helped out more. Used the argument that he too is stressed out and tired. He claims my communication on the issue was terrible and that I could have been more open and laid it out. Says that I'm the arsehole for taking a vacation without him because he could have used it too. But the thing is, I straight out told him that I needed a break. I asked him for help. He disregarded it all, but now I'm curious if I'm an arsehole. ETA, our conversations went exactly as I wrote them above, so maybe I was lacking in the communication department. And 2222 says, "Not the arsehole. I'm so sick and tired of people saying OP sucks too for not communicating. But who tells her what needs to be done around the house or how to take care of a child? Does husband not have eyes? Can he not see what needs to be cleaned, tidied or cooked? Does he not know his child's needs? If he didn't before, maybe his 4-day vacation without a child to care for or a wife to clean up after him opened his eyes." And Sint Elvis says, "Not the arsehole," and quotes, "asked my mum to take my son for 4 days," and then says, "I was all ready to give you a not the arsehole, even assuming you were leaving your husband to work out care for his son." And then quotes again, "He could have used it too." And then says he has the house to himself with no wife nor child to worry about. How is he not also getting a vacation? And Beckdog19 says, "Everyone sucks here, but man, am I on your side. I absolutely see why you needed the break, and you even went above and beyond to find a babysitter, but man, just disappearing for 4 days like that is not okay. I'm not saying you should have invited him, but it's just basic communication to tell your spouse where you and his child are before vanishing for days. So, not the arsehole for taking the vacation, but everyone sucks here because you literally just left." And Doris Useless says, "It's so telling that he wants to blame his decision not to contribute on you by saying you didn't communicate. He knows he needs to throw in equally, he knows he wasn't doing it, and he knows that you told him. He's upset at facing the consequences of his own actions and he should be apologising to you. Not the arsehole." And Walter the Wobot says, "Everyone sucks here. Your husband is taking you for granted and should be doing an equal share of the chore/childcare on his days off. However, dropping your son off at your mother's and taking off for 4 days without telling him isn't the answer either." And Fartree9 says, not the arsehole, you told him you needed help. You told him you needed a break and still nothing. You took care of your child's arrangements, so good for you, I say. And finally, Take It Easy Broski says, not the arsehole. I grew up with my mum constantly doing everything and being constantly stressed about it. In my eyes, it's 50-50 or nothing. I personally believe you should have done more to rile him up. Maybe leave the house a mess. Would have been pretty funny, but seriously, you asked him for weeks and months, so fuck it. He can clean the house and order takeout for 4 days. He will live. Now, I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation? Do you think this is a communication issue regardless of what the first comment says? Or do you think that OP was right to just take off without saying anything and because she did supply childcare? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. And our next story is from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for trying to get full custody of my kids after ex miscarried and is depressed? My ex and I did not end on good terms. She had an affair. The divorce was messy, but one thing we did was agree on having equal time with our kids, so we both have joint custody. After the divorce, I found she got into a relationship with a man she cheated with. 6 months ago, my ex announced she was pregnant, but not long after that she unfortunately had a miscarriage. The boyfriend left her right after, so she's been on her own. It's been about 4 months since this happened, and my daughters have started to complain they don't like it at her house. My ex doesn't interact with the girls at all, and they say she shuts herself in her room most of the day, leaving them on their own. My girls are 11 and 9, so while they don't need adult supervision 24/7, I still didn't like that they're being neglected since my eldest complains she has to make most of their meals. She doesn't help them with their homework, and when she is around, my daughter says she's serious and doesn't talk much. My eldest thinks she hates them and it's not an environment I want them around. I talked to my ex several times, but all I've gotten are bitter remarks and being told to get off her back because she's going through something. She doesn't deny that she's leaving the girls alone all day when they are with her. I finally told her that if she doesn't get help or start being a more attentive mother, then I'll take her back to court and try to get full custody. My ex was in tears, calling me a selfish piece of shit for trying to hurt her when she's already down and she deserves to be with our daughters. She's accusing me of trying to get back at her for cheating, which is not true. If I wanted to use my kids to be spiteful, I would have tried getting full custody back when we were divorcing. Her sister has been telling me the same. She's aware my ex is depressed and sometimes doesn't get out of bed, so she goes to take care of her. She says she can take the girls with her sometimes when they're there, but that's not the point. My ex is the one who's supposed to be watching our daughters, and if she needs her sister to take them, then obviously she can't properly care for them. And her sister said she could only take them sometimes. They are both calling me a monster for wanting to take away a mother's kids after she just lost one child, and it's hard not to feel like shit, but at the same time, my daughters can't be around that, at least until she's better. I'm planning on contacting my lawyer, already screenshot all the texts from ex and sister as evidence about her condition. I've told my ex if she got help then maybe we could work something out, but she's refusing and still saying I'm being a bitter jackass wanting to take her kids away. With what she's dealing with and now adding this, it made me look like the villain to almost everyone else and it's making me feel like the arsehole for doing this. Damn, this is an awful situation all around. I'm sorry for the initial cheating. I'm sorry that this woman has miscarried and it's absolutely awful. But all I can see OP doing in this story is actually looking out for their children that's there right now. And I think that is his priority and I cannot blame him for doing so. And I think I would be doing the same in that position, which I know is incredibly difficult for someone that's already going through some proper mental issues right there, but she doesn't realize that she's damaging her own children at the moment, which is really bad in itself. But all I can see in this situation is that OP is trying to help their kids out because they can't live in that kind of condition right now, can they? Maybe if you was to get custody and in the future she can come back into their lives once she's sorted her own mental state out. And I'm not trying to play down miscarriage at all because I can't imagine what that person is going through, what they are going through mentally right now. It must be, oh man, I can't even think about it. But I do think that she needs to realize how damaging this is going to be to her own children if this carries on down this path, because without her getting or seeking any kind of help, is it going to only escalate? Who knows? And I really want to reiterate that I'm not trying to be harsh to a woman who's already grieving, who's already suffering mentally and been through a hell of a lot, and taking her children away would just be further damaging right now, and I can totally see that. But at the same time, neglecting her 11 and 9-year-old to be making their own dinners and being unhappy in their current environment and all this kind of thing, there's got to be some sort of breaking point here, isn't there? Maybe sitting with her and telling her that you care and you don't want this to happen, and maybe she should seek therapy first and go down that path first and try and seek some sort of compromise. I don't know, I'm just trying to reach here because this is an incredibly hard situation. But let's check out some of the comments, there might be a better solution there. NX85 says, not the arsehole. While it's really sad what she's going through, she needs the time to recover from her losses and depression. While it would seem like taking the kids away would make her feel worse, she's not taking care of them right now, so it's not like their company is benefiting her emotionally. She's just neglecting them. If you're able to convince her to let you take them informally without the courts so she can get better, that would be best. But if she won't agree to send them to you and work on getting better, you'll have to sue. And Skinny Cartman says, not the arsehole. 9 and 11 are still ages when kids should have supervision most of the time because things can happen to them and they probably won't know what to do. A parent is supposed to help their kids learn and take care of themselves. Your ex can't do that when she is locked up in her room. And Sheldorado says, she needed a professional's help months ago. Is there anything you can do to get her to see someone? She's a good mother otherwise, right? She needs a therapist, not a custody battle. Not the arsehole, but for the sake of your children, please help her get help. And OP does reply to this saying, I agree she needs a therapist, but she's refusing any type of help and tells me that's none of my business. There's nothing else I can do. And Bobby2393 says, not the arsehole, it would suck, but the terms you gave her were exceedingly flexible. Seeking some help for depression, while she may not like it, is not that big an ask, and she's not denying that she's got some issues. I wouldn't worry about your ex and her sister speaking ill of you. You need to put your daughter's well-being first. And Everyone Calls Me Nice says, damn, this all sucks. Not the arsehole, you are looking out for the best interest of your kids. I'm sorry for everyone involved here though. While you're doing what you gotta do for your kids, just remember that your ex is in serious pain, and whatever she did to you, she doesn't deserve this. It just might be unfortunately necessary. Now, I turn this one to you guys. What would you do in this situation? Oh, this one really was a tough one for me. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And our next story is from Jessica XMX. Am I the arsehole for telling my sister I won't move across the country with her or take care of my nephew anymore? On mobile, sorry for formatting, I'm female 26. A little backstory. When I was 16, my mum moved her and myself across the world, UK to US, to be with my sister as she was going through IVF. I lost all my friends and drifted apart from family. I'm 26 now and finally really happy living here. I love my nephew, he's my best friend. I was technically his nanny for about a year and we are super close. Usually, if I'm not working, I'm with him. Camping trips, theme park trips, adventures together. If my nephew wasn't part of the equation, I probably wouldn't even speak to my sister. Now she's decided they want to leave the state we live in and move to the other side of the country, and she expects us all to go. She's been asking me for almost 2 weeks. She's had my mum asking me, but I don't want to. I'm an adult and I will not have my life thrown into absolute chaos for her again. So I told her this as she was badgering me to move with them. She called me a dramatic bitch and said I'm being completely unreasonable and it would be nice to have a change. I told her no, and if she's really planning on moving and taking my nephew, then she cannot rely on me for childcare anymore because it's going to break both mine and my nephew's hearts when we were separated and not 15 minutes away from each other. Now I'm the family villain and barely anybody is speaking to me because I'm so dramatic and rude. Am I the arsehole? So am I reading this right in that the sister is just expecting her to move for like this childcare pretty much? Is that right? Is that the way I'm reading it? And like OP said, they're an adult now, and although it's going to be, if they do move, it'd be incredibly hard for both you and your nephew for her just being selfish in this way. OP says themselves that they wouldn't have nothing to do with their sister anyway if it wasn't for the nephew. And I know it'd be incredibly difficult to break that bond, but you have to do what's right for you. Your nephew is your sister's responsibility and she should be and she should be being responsible, and that's all there is to it. Absolutely not the arsehole in this situation. She doesn't sound like a very nice person from what I'm getting from this post. But BFub1435 says, not the arsehole, she sounds super toxic. I know you love your nephew, but let them go and then try to be a part of your nephew's life, but expect your sister to blow it up. Tell him lies like auntie doesn't love you and that's why she's not here. If you send him stuff, she may give in to him, but say it's from her or granny. You're under no obligation to sacrifice your life for your family. Life is short, do what makes you happy. And Servant of Bosco says, well, luckily you're an adult also now, and you don't have to move across the street if you don't want to. Next time, and the time after that, and the time after that, because she is going to bring it up to exhaustion. You know she will. Tell her you will miss your nephew and maybe your mum, but you aren't going to miss anybody that calls you an unreasonable, dramatic bitch. What the fuck? Not the arsehole. And Karma ran over my dogma says, not the arsehole. This is called gaslighting. And quotes, she called me a dramatic bitch and said I'm being completely unreasonable and it would be nice to have a change. Nez says, I'd say something like, I love you, I wish you all the best, I wish you weren't leaving, but that's the decision you've decided to make without consulting me. I have a life here and this is where I'm going to remain. Please respect my decision. Subject is closed. And Ryan503 says, not the arsehole. God, I cannot imagine having to move to a different country in the middle of high school. That sounds awful. Your sister can't expect you to follow them around when they move. What about your friends and your job? You're 100% not the arsehole and should definitely hold your ground. It honestly sounds like she just wants free childcare, especially since it sounds like you aren't close. Now, I turn this one to you guys. What would you do in this situation and how would you deal with it? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story comes from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for not rehiring the nanny we fired over a misunderstanding? I, 38 female, have a 17-year-old daughter from a previous relationship and a 6-year-old daughter from my current marriage. My husband and I both work, so we employ a nanny. This nanny also takes care of my 11-year-old nephew who comes over a lot when my brother is at work. A couple of days ago, my meeting for the afternoon was rescheduled, so I decided to go home at 4:30 instead of my usual 6:30. The nanny was supposed to bring my daughter home for a snack before dropping her off at a dance. I walk in and I'm surprised to find that the nanny isn't back yet. I go to the kitchen and find a can of Smirnoff Ice Smash poking out the trash can. All the alcohol in my house is in a wine cellar and my husband and I don't buy Smirnoff. I was furious because nobody in the house had any business drinking. My nanny, when she was high, was told that drinking on the job was strictly banned. I went into my daughter's room where she was lounging on her bed and held up the can. I asked if it was hers. My daughter swore up and down that this wasn't hers. She looked me in the eyes and said that she heard a can being cracked open by the nanny and that she saw the nanny drinking something in a can as she passed by the kitchen. I called the nanny and she said she was on her way home and there was traffic. She comes in and I ask her about the can. She said this wasn't hers but kept not meeting my eyes. The nanny admitted to drinking from a can but said she disposed of it elsewhere and it wasn't alcohol. I decided to believe my daughter and told the nanny that we're going to have to let her go. After the whole debacle, I called my brother to tell him that somebody else would be caring for his son when he came over next. A few hours later, my brother calls to say that his son claims that my older daughter told him she'd get alcohol from friends and she'd dispose of it before we got home. My younger daughter comes up to me after dinner and says she's seen the same coloured cans as the one I found under her older sister's bed. I confronted my older daughter and she finally admitted she lied. She apologised to her sister and said she learned her lesson. My brother said his son really wants the same nanny as before and my younger daughter asked if this means if the nanny can come back. My older daughter said it would be humiliating to have to admit fault to the nanny and said I can't be so cruel to make her see this nanny again every day. She asked if this means she has to grovel in front of the nanny. I told her that while we are disappointed, we do not want to put her through this and hopefully we can just find as good a nanny. I told her both my brother and my younger daughter that it would be best if we do not reach out to the nanny in any way and that would be rather humiliating to make my daughter apologise given the situation and potential for awkwardness. My younger daughter cried and said she loved the nanny more than her sister. Am I the arsehole? Let's just start off by saying that OP is not teaching their daughter anything, any consequences for their actions for doing what they've done, got someone sacked for something humiliating for the nanny, and now, she's just getting away with it scot-free. And everyone else in the situation is also suffering because of it. Everyone else seemed to have loved this nanny, apart from this sister, who's caused all this bloody trouble. All sister is worried about in this situation is making herself look like an arsehat, and I do suspect that OP doesn't want the nanny to come back in as well, because she will also look like an arsehat in this situation if nanny was to be hired. So I think she's doing it for her benefit as well in this situation. You absolutely both should be apologizing to her right away, giving her job back if she accepts it. Probably a pay rise as well. Yeah, let's have a look at some of the comments to see what they say. Wow. Internet Point says, you're the arsehole, not for rehiring her, but for not apologizing and making your daughter apologize. So it's cool if she just goes through life not taking responsibility for her actions because it's humiliating. And La Granota says, you're the arsehole and both you and your daughter need to apologize. I doubt your nanny wants to work for you anymore, but saying it's too humiliating for your daughter to apologizing is yikes. And Converting Creative says, you're the arsehole, you're punishing 4 people to save the one who caused this entire mess. You're also teaching your eldest daughter that actions don't have consequences. She took the coward's way out and blamed her actions on someone else and got caught in a lie. She literally cost an innocent person their job. A fitting punishment would be for her to have to see that person every day, so she'd think about doing this sort of thing next time, especially since your brother, nephew and youngest daughter like her. You're not always going to be there to protect her or keep her away from facing consequences. At the very least, you should have her apologise to the nanny, and you should too. And Clean Association says, you are the arsehole, not insisting that your daughter face up to what she did is terrible parenting. And C-Meba says, you're the arsehole, hugely so. Like, what the fuck? You fired your nanny because you falsely accused her, and your daughter let someone lose their job and only admitted it was her drinking when the evidence mounted up. Your daughter is awful. Not really surprising though, since she's being raised by someone who wrongfully fires people and then won't even rehire them or issue an apology because their daughter, heaven forbid, might have to feel guilty when seeing her. Your daughter fears accountability and you're letting her dodge it. Great life skills being learned. Everyone loves a self-centered adult with no accountability, for fuck's sake. This is so gross and despicable. You and your daughter need to apologise to the nanny, and I hope the nanny finds work with a better family. Now, I turn this one to you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Once again, guys, thank you for being here today. I hope you did enjoy today's stories, and if you did, you know what to do, you cheeky so-and-sos. Hit that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. I'm not sure where that came from.
What is he on?
Thank you so much for your support, your time, and love. Love you guys too. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.